to the legends of the creative and entertainment industries. We talk to those on the rise. Lance Dean Anthony Nielsen asks about the highs, the lows, and everything in between. This is Outcast Creative, and this is Industry Interviews.
Hello, welcome to the Outcast Creative channel and, of course, the spine of our channel, which is the Industry Interviews, which supports our dual purpose of talking to veterans at the top of their game in all the creative industries, everything from playwrights to books, authors, games designers, DJs, musicians, actors, and film directors, and every position of crew on a film set. But we also support people that are at the beginning of the phase of climbing up that slippery ladder, crossing the pit of snakes and swimming in the sea of sharks that is the film industry. And when I see young filmmakers putting it out there, doing their thing, grafting, making short films, learning their craft and stuff, if I see that they're doing something interesting, I always reach out to them and ask them to come on the channel. And one such cheeky chappy is my guest this evening, a young filmmaker by the name of Jacob Stockton, and he hails from up north somewhere. You'll be able to guess from his accent when he comes on. But co-hosting with a wealth of knowledge of insider industry on film sets across the universe is the Inside Man. I haven't done one of these on a Monday for a while, but hopefully the viewing figures will pick up in a bit. How are you doing, sir?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, looking forward to this. This is, as well, this is both of our kind of wheelhouse, as they say.
It is indeed. In fact, 2 weeks from now, I think it's 2 weeks from now, you and I are going to be working on a film set together.
We might be, I
I
think.
think we would have just wrapped day one of filming, right? I think is it 2 weeks from now? Or
it's 2 weeks. 2 weeks today.
It's 2 weeks from. Is it 2 weeks from today? Jesus Christ, that came around quickly, didn't it?
Oh, yeah, being brought a month forward, I think, probably had something to do with that.
That's what threw me. Yeah, well, actors and their schedules with all the work that they've got on. Anyway, so Inside Man and I will be on set of All in Good Time, filming. Our first day of filming is 2 weeks from today. And I've been in and out of production meetings all week, set visits, recce's, all of that kind of stuff. We'll be talking about those kind of topics to this young man. So without any further ado, let's welcome Mr. Stockton. We're going to talk about his career and in particular his latest film, Man on the Hill. How are you, sir?
Hi, guys. How are we doing? I'm good, thanks.
Welcome to the channel, Jacob. Now, what we're going to do before we dive into your background and why you made the crazy decision to become an independent filmmaker, we're going to ask you a couple of quick fire questions to get a sense of what your cultural upbringing has been in the media and what kind of films and television have impacted you, because you were born sometime in the late 90s. I don't want to say exactly when, so that makes you a bit of a wee whippersnapper compared to us. So the first question I always ask every guest is this: what was the first movie that you got taken, probably by your parents, I would imagine, to the cinema to see as a child? Do you remember?
I think it was The Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King in 2003, I think.
What a great film to first film to see as a kid. That must have been a bit confusing, though. Had you seen the other two?
I can't honestly remember. All I remember is I was absolutely obsessed with the trilogy. It was all I talked about, from when I could form words when I was a kid, really. And I'm still obsessed with it to this day, to be honest with you.
I think that's the best kind of parents, if they're like, right, as soon as our son's old enough, he's going to see Return of the King.
Does that answer make you feel quite old, Lance?
No, because I'm still quite youthful compared to you. So absolutely
He's
not.
A big liar.
I'll tell you why. It's because for me, Lord of the Rings feels just like yesterday. I saw that on the opening night in Leicester Square, and in fact, I saw all three films on the opening night in Leicester Square. My God, what an atmosphere! That must have been in a packed-out cinema, right, with every seat taken when you went, Jacob.
Well, honestly, I can't remember. I think I remember seeing it 2 or 3 times ago. I was taken by a different family member each time,
Right.
but I remember absolutely loving it.
Fantastic. What was the last film you saw at the cinema that you paid for a ticket to go and see?
That was actually today, and it was to see what the hell do you even call it? What's it called? It's gone out of my mind. How to Train Your Dragon. That's it.
How to Train Your Dragon. How to Train Your Dragon. Was it on re-release or was it the latest How to Train Your Dragon?
It's the latest one, the remake. It was really good though. I really enjoyed it.
Okay, fantastic. I think you're the first guest of all of my 116 guests. You're the first one who said to that question, "Oh, I went today." So well done. If you had to name a TV series, drama that I'm talking about here, that you've seen, that you had to binge watch as soon as you saw the first couple of episodes, and you thought, "Wow, that's good. I hope I can make or write something like that one day." What show would you name?
I think I've got 2 in mind. I would say Breaking Bad,
Yeah.
and I would say probably a lesser known one. I'd say Spartacus. I absolutely love the TV show, not the film, but the TV show. I absolutely loved it.
Great.
Well, au contraire, Jacob, we've done an episode by episode breakdown of Spartacus on this very channel.
All right. Okay.
So yeah, me and the Inside Man are massive fans of that show.
Yeah.
History Bro, less so, who was one of our guests, wasn't so keen on it. But yeah, I mean yeah, we really love that show, right, Inside Man. Spartacus.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I mean, I think the first couple of episodes, I think we almost come to blows on a certain character, but it really, it really sort of gathered some nice pace, and I think,
I genuinely think the pilot episode of season 1 I can't get into whatsoever, but once you get past that first episode, it becomes something rather incredible for me.
Yeah,
I mean, it kind of came on the heels of 300, didn't it? So it's got that sort of graphic novel aesthetic, and it's got that certain look and a lot of green screen and all that. But once you get past that stylized look, and once you've got to know the characters, I think by episode 3, you're really in there. And I think you had the same reaction, Inside Man, when you first watched it. You weren't sure, but I said, just keep going with it. It's worth it.
Yeah, and it was worth it. It really was.
And I think we're going to cover the prequel series next. That's great. Breaking Bad, that answer's been given by God about 40 guests that have come on here, so we won't go further in that. As a filmmaker, which American actor or actress would you most like to work with on set?
Down to pure talent, I would say Daniel Day-Lewis or Leonardo DiCaprio, of course.
Daniel
they're 2 actors I'd love to work with.
With you that he's not American.
Oh well, no, he's not, is he?
Daniel Day-Lewis is Irish. I will accept your answer, Leonardo DiCaprio. And then my next question was going to be, which British actor or actress would you most like to work with?
Do you know what? Just because I saw him today, I'd love to work with Nick Frost. Didn't see him in person. I saw him in How to Train Your Dragon, of course, but I'd love to work with Nick Frost, I think.
Nick Frost. Okay, excellent. Very good. Do you have an all-time favorite movie, not including the Lord of the Rings trilogy, that's like it could be a guilty pleasure, one that you'll whack on a Sunday afternoon, or fancy watching a movie? What's that movie you can whack on at any time and enjoy it?
Do you know what? It'd probably be Forrest Gump, to be honest with you. I'm obsessed with that one as well, just for the story alone.
That's a good film. That and The Shawshank Redemption both came out in the same year, from what I remember, and they were both really good. Okay, right, that's our short questions over. Let's get into your career. So you basically you've done what a lot of people have done, including myself, which is got into doing a bit of acting, then sort of started writing, directing. So do you want to kind of talk me through how things started for you in the creative sense?
Yeah, I think when I was a kid, it was just something I was always like really fascinated with, but I quickly realized I wasn't an actor. I think I realized that when I was really young. I didn't quite have the confidence for it, and I think I don't know, I was more of an entertainer than an actor more than anything. I think I liked making people laugh and everything, but you've got to have something in you as an actor, and I just didn't quite have that. But then I soon realized that I was quite keen on directing. There was something about directing. I don't know if it was the power trip of a director or whatever it was, but just having the reins to kind of be really creative. It just I absolutely loved it, and I think that was kind of the path that I looked at when I was a teenager, and I thought I want to pursue that.
What was it about? What was it about directing that kind of attracted you to that role? Because it's not for everyone.
No, it's not. I think the pressure, to be honest with you, I absolutely love the pressure. And yeah, I always kind of think when I don't have that kind of pressure, I'm not going to want to do it anymore. I think it's the intensity of it, and all this pressure on your shoulders to get something right and to get the best out of an actor for a performance. I love the concept of that more than anything.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I suppose that'd be one of my questions to you as a director. What do you on a given shooting day? What would you say your primary role is?
Well, as a director on the day, or
Yeah, on the day, on a shooting day.
I think it's to lead everyone to making a good film. I think you've got to have that leadership, that trait in you, and I think you got to make sure everyone's, I suppose, happy and working towards the same kind of goal at the end of the day. And I think getting the best performance out of the actors, and making sure everyone's on the same page.
Yeah, I think yeah, I would agree. First and foremost, you're mainly there to communicate
Mhm.
with the actors and everything else on set. You're trusting to other people, and then secondly to communicate your vision to the DOP and make sure
Yeah,
you're both on the same page. But if you've done the preparation before you get to set, you and the DOP should already be in sync, and there shouldn't be much back and forth about that.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So your first film.
Mhm.
Talk us through how that came about. So what how old were you when you decided you want to get into directing?
I must have been. I can remember I was in high school. I must have been maybe 15 or something. It was toward the
Right.
end of high school, and what I realised in school was that I wasn't really good at anything, and the only kind of passion and interest I had was in film.
Okay.
So obviously you make some terrible films on cheaper equipment and stuff, and you make films with your friends, and you look back at them and you think like, what on earth was I doing? But you slowly get better with more films you make, I suppose.
But I mean, you are a filmmaker of the digital era, because when you started making films, digital cameras were available. The
Yeah.
first thing I remember was, I think it would have been around 2011, 2012. Suddenly people are saying to me, hey, there's this great Canon DSLR and it records video, and the quality of the video is actually really good. And, we get loads of, high level SD cards. We can make a feature film with this. And I was like, what are they talking about? Making a feature film with a stills camera? How's that going to work? And then, I sort of had a look at some footage and I thought, shit, this is great.
Yeah.
And then of course, so you grew up in that era of digital filmmaking. I grew up in the era when it was all still being shot on 35mm 16, and the cheapest format was Super 16, which you still had to get processed. You still had to edit with a Steinbeck and all of that. So I mean, I know you don't have that perspective of how much easier things are, but talk me through the first project. How did it come about? How many crew did you have? What sort of access to cameras did you have? What was available for you, and what did
So
you
I can
shoot?
remember when we were in college, we made like 5-minute films on, like, I think it was like a Canon 600D or something.
Yeah, I remember
Yeah, it was
those.
something like that. And you know, you think you know what you're doing back then. You know, you're writing your scripts, and you know, you get, you know, young actors and stuff, and you know, you just shooting the scene more than anything. And it's yeah, I didn't really know what I was doing. We had like a crew of maybe like 3 or 4 people, and you're not just directing, you're doing, you know, you're producing it, you're probably doing a little bit of editing as well, and you're taking on multiple roles to make something work. But I learned a lot in college, and then I went to university, and I got stuck in the COVID batch as well, which was rather unfortunate. But because you know, a lot of the course went online as well, so we didn't really get to practice practically more than anything. So it was quite frustrating in COVID. But you know, at university we had more expensive equipment. I think we had like Sony F5s and FS7s, like a lot bigger stuff that I'd never touched in my life. But yeah.
Where did you go to university?
I went to Northumbria University, which is in Newcastle.
Right. And what was the course like there?
I think in the first year before COVID, because we had 6 months and then COVID happened, and I really enjoyed it. But that second year was like a total write-off. It was all on, you know, Zoom and stuff, and you're doing everything by theory, and it's nowhere near as exciting as it should have been. And then by the time we came into our third year, COVID was starting to kind of clear away, and we were able to do our graduation film, and that was like, I want to say that was the first proper film that I had a chance to, you know, kind of crack the whip at, I suppose.
Mm.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that that film theory without any practical at all is the dullest of things to study. Is absolutely diabolical. And of course, there is this. I think you actually touched upon it quite well, actually, Jacob. You know that when you're a student, you do think that you know everything. You think that, you know. I mean, I've also taught, so. You know, I've seen some of my ex-students come in, and you know, having seen a couple of Tarantino films, all of a sudden they think that they know exactly what film is about because they've seen a couple of Tarantino or Scorsese movies. You know, and of course they don't realize that they don't know everything until they suddenly realize they don't know everything. And it sort of comes a quite a rude awakening. So what was the moment for you where you realized you had that kind of epiphany moment that, hang on a minute, you know, I really don't know anything, and there is something more to this than I first thought. What was that moment? Was it after uni, or was it?
Yeah, it was after university, and it's a really good question, because it would have been my first actual job in the industry, and that was the first day on 28 Years Later, which is coming out in a couple of weeks. I was on that, and I was a runner on that, and my first day I was honestly a headless chicken. I didn't know where to turn, I didn't know who to speak to, I didn't know what I was doing, I didn't know how a radio worked. I was just totally lost.
Yeah, that must have been a real eye-opener to be on, gone from making one of your little films with your mates with a crew of 4 to being on the set of 28 Days Later, where they've probably got a crew of about 200 people. And
with more than that, to be honest. I think you're surrounded by so many people, and honestly, I think that was the moment for me where I was like, I haven't got a clue what I'm doing, and I learned a lot from that job. But it's an incredible first job to have, but truth be told, you're chucked straight in the deep end. And if you can't swim, you know, you're knackered, really.
What would you say at university? And I get that it was a year on the ground and a year on telly, effectively, with the Zooms and so forth. What was the most valuable lesson that you took away from that course?
I think it was just, I think maturing more than anything. I think I went into that course, like, looking back, I was very, very immature. I was a 21-year-old kid at the time, and like I said earlier, you know, you're walking in, and I had this ego about me of, I want to be the best on the course, and I want the teachers to recognize the work that I'm doing and stuff. And I think by the end of it, I was kind of like, you can't go into a course like that, and you can't go into this industry, you know, like for yourself. It's a team effort at the end of the day. And I think I came out of it just realizing that, you know, it's not all about one person. It's a collective journey, and it's a team game.
Yeah. Well, if that's the main takeaway that you got, I'd say that's an incredibly valuable lesson. Yeah, I won't go into my course, which was pretty rubbish. We only had one camera, and somebody in the second year pointed it into the sun and blew all the bulbs on it in the first year. So after that, there was no camera. So you know, entertaining times. So okay, so you started making films of your own, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm guessing the meat of these occurred post-pandemic. Is that fair?
Yeah, it was. I think after university, because you know we got absolutely shafted with COVID, so it was. I was very determined and keen to keep learning, because I felt like there was such a gaping hole in my education. So I spent the whole of 2023 shadowing any kind of director in the Northeast that I possibly could, whether it was short film directors or television directors or theatre directors, and I learned a lot from that.
Yeah, and how did that? How did you get on those sets? What did you do? Did you just find them on social media and write to them, or what?
Yeah, pretty much. I networked quite a bit, because that was another lesson that I it's fair to say. You know, everyone used to say in this industry it's all about who you know, and I was thinking, well, that just seems like a bit of a cop out, isn't it? About how hard you work. But then I realised after university, it's more.
Jacob, if only that was
It
true.
is about who you know. And I realised that like straight away. I was like, as soon as I graduated, I was like, shit, I don't really know anyone in the industry. I don't know anyone. I don't know what I'm doing. So yeah, I used the very little contacts that I had, and I wrote to a lot of you know, filmmakers, and I just said, like, listen, I'm completely out of my depth, and I want to learn as much as I can. And you know, some of them got back to me, and some of them didn't. And the ones that did get back to me, you know, I was very lucky to observe and learn from them.
Right. Yeah. What was the most valuable thing you learned whilst observing and learning from other filmmakers? What were the key top 2 or 3 points you picked up from watching them work?
I think the discipline and the composure of a lot of the directors that I had the chance to observe. Like there was one thing that I realized, and even as a person now, I'm not a composed person like at all. I'm very, you know, giddy, and I'm all over the place half the time. But what I'm trying to get better at now as a upcoming director is I want to try and stay as composed as possible, because as soon as I've lost my head, you know, everyone loses theirs more than anything. So you've got to stay calm, and you've got to you know, you've got to stay as composed as possible in pressurizing situations.
Yeah, never lose your rag on set, mate. That's
Yeah.
that's a massive no-no. Right.
Well, that's what I was guilty of when I was at university. I thought the director was this respected person that could just rock up and do whatever they wanted, and you know, since university, it's nothing like that at all. You've got to be composed.
Yeah.
I think it's you know, that was kind of you know, the attitude I think that a lot of people had really adopted, you know, having seen some of these movies about movies, you know, particularly old Hollywood. You know, when you hear the stories about the old Hollywood directors, that's what they were. They were these dictatorial, you know, egomaniacs that would just fly into rages. But of course, the reality of it is that certainly the directors that I've worked with over the years, and of which there have been very many, I don't think I've ever seen a director really lose his shit at all. There is that, you're right, there is that composure, there's that calmness. And this is what really enables an entire crew to sort of gel together, to kind of stay completely focused on the one job. Nobody has anything else to worry about apart from the job that's in hand. And the director is the man who's, you know, leading that by example.
Absolutely, and
So
I think it's another thing as well is I want people to wake up in the morning and go, "Oh, I'm excited to go on set with Jacob Stockton." I don't want people to wake up and think, "Oh, I've got to go back on and work with him."
Yeah.
no, indeed, that would not be good. So I think one of your first films would have been this one.
Yes, it was. Yeah, we so that was a film that we made right after university.
Right.
It was a short 10-minute film. And again, it was a crew of, I think it was a crew of 4, which after this film, we realized very quickly that we needed a much larger crew.
What were your 4 crews? So there was you, the director, that's one. Who were the other 3?
Yeah. So I had my editor, Daniel Laybourne. I had my sound operator, Andrew Tunstall, and my DOP, Jay Armstrong.
Right. And effectively, you were probably all doing 3 other jobs as well, I would imagine.
Exactly. Yeah, and we all graduated together on the same course as well.
Right. So talk us through. Did you write this?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Talk us through the story idea on this.
So I was quite inspired by Nightmare Alley. I kind of like the idea of doing kind of a con that has gone wrong, and it kind of comes back to bite you in the arse in later on in the story.
So that was what inspired you to write the script.
Yeah.
So when you sat down to write the script for The Strangers Among Us, from point of okay, I like this idea of Nightmare Alley. I want to do something similar to okay, I've got a finished script ready to go. How long did that take?
Well, embarrassingly, it probably didn't take very long. I think it took a few weeks because, again, I was quite eager to make something after university. I didn't care how many drafts it went through or anything. I just wanted to write something quick and to get it up and running because I was eager to prove myself.
So what was that? A 15-page script?
Oh yeah, I think probably 10 to 15 pages, somewhere around there.
And you did how many drafts in how many weeks?
2 drafts in probably 3 weeks.
Oh man, that's slow. That's slow.
Yeah.
You'll be writing faster than that now, I'm sure.
I know. I'm much faster.
Yeah. I mean, did you? I want to again. I'm just sort of keen to explore your creative choices and your creative roots here. So I'm going to grill you a bit more on this film. When you were writing that script, okay, let's just talk technicals first. Did you use a particular software, or did you just jump onto Word and kind of try and format it?
Honestly, it was on. I do all my scripts on Word, and then I found a software on the internet. I think it's called like Writer Duet, and I just copy and paste everything into that, and it does it all for me from there.
Yeah, good. That's a good one. Fade In is a very user-friendly, good one. That unlike Final Draft doesn't charge you £500 every year or something for an update.
Yeah.
And I mean, how many times do you need to update script writing software? It's not like script writing has changed that much, So, so I can recommend Fade In as another good one. So you were using Word into Duet for The Stranger Among Us, right?
Yes.
When you sort of sat down to write the story, what was your what was the thing that was at the forefront of your mind? Were you thinking story beats, I've got to break this into acts, yada yada yada, or did you have something else that was the focus when you were writing it, or were you just organic?
I think I have a weird way of writing all my scripts. I always kind of know what the conclusion is before anything else. I come up with an idea and I already know the fate of the characters. It's always Act 2 that I struggle to write, and that's when I start to dig a little deeper and try and figure it all out.
Yeah.
Well, one of the pieces of advice I always give on my writing workshops is, when you write your script, always write the scene that's clearest in your head first.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because that's the one you're going to get the most clarity with immediately, and it will hit the page. Once you've done the first one, then you write the one that connects to that, and you've done another one, and before you know it, you're on your way.
Also, I think that's actually a very interesting way of writing, and it's a very familiar to many professional screenwriters. That is how they would really kick it off, by starting at journey's end. That you have your conclusion. So how how do I reach that conclusion? I have to figure out how I reach that. I have a few ideas on how I'm going to be going about it, but what are the beats going to be? How are the characters going to develop to get them to that end point?
Yeah.
So it's a very, very tried and tested and very familiar to many, many, many screenwriters.
So
Yeah,
we've
I
got
think everyone's got like a different way of writing, but I've always kind of wrote backwards, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, I know there's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
Yeah.
I think you use the system that works best for you. We've got another film blogger and reviewer in the chat, Nerdly UK, who's a good friend of ours. Love hearing a Northeast director on the Outcasts. Local lad getting it done. So yeah, wicked. He knew I was going to do that voice for that line. So having had 4 crew, what was your budget on this? If you even have
I
one.
think it must have been a couple of £100 that we all just kind of chucked in together.
Right. Okay. How many days did you shoot?
I think it was about 5 days, but it was due to availability and stuff. I think it was shot over a couple of months because it's 5 days over like 2 months when everyone was available at the time.
Sure. And the 2 actors came from where?
So Johnny Larman, he is an upcoming actor, and it was his first ever short film, which was quite interesting for me as a director because it was more of a challenge for me to try and to guide him, I suppose. But he's doing absolutely fantastic now. And then we've got Fiona Thomas, who actually has co-produced Man on the Hill with me. She's absolutely brilliant as an actor and as a filmmaker, and she's absolutely organised.
Well, tell her if she wants to ever come on here and talk about her films, she's very welcome to do that. So
Definitely.
did you, I mean, how did you reach out and meet these actors, and did you have an audition process?
Yeah, so we auditioned quite a few people. We put a casting call out on the pages on social media. Johnny was one of them, and Fiona. So my cinematographer Jay, he was already friends with Fiona because he'd worked with her on another project at university, and he recommended her. And then I think we reached out to her, and she was quite interested in the script.
Great. I have to say, I actually really like this poster. I think it's quite a strong poster for
Yeah.
your first. I guess you'd call this your first proper film.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think I suppose you could, but it's due to it being like so rushed after university. I kind of look at it like a side film now, I think.
Yeah, but listen, my first feature film, I look at it the same way. So I hear exactly what you're saying. Wormy Spoons asks the most important question of all: who is doing the catering? That's the important question, because
so that would go to me mum. That would.
right. So your mum fed the troops on this one.
Yeah, she does a banging jam sandwich.
Oh,
Brilliant.
Okay. Well, we're going to come back to catering in a minute. What I want to do is jump forward to your latest film, because I want to make sure we talk about this so we don't run out of time. Now, and this is the thing which connected us, because this poster came up on my social media, and immediately, of course, I went, "Oh my God, it's a World War II movie!" And I'm a bit of a World War II movie guy. Oh, look, we've got a bit of doubling up going on there. Yeah, have you got a favorite World War II movie?
I think it's probably a common answer, but I'd probably go with Saving Private Ryan.
Okay. Have you seen A Bridge Too Far?
No, I believe you mentioned that to me though, and it's on my list now.
I think I bollocked you for not seeing that,
Yeah.
from what I remember. But yeah, I mean, mate, you've got to watch that movie. There's a really good quality copy of it on YouTube, so you can actually see it for free. I think it's actually also on Amazon at the moment, but certainly was.
Yeah.
I also have a 5.5 hour mega cut, or no, 4.5 hour mega cut of that film, which has got all of the market garden scenes from Band of Brothers edited into it, and I've rescored it and everything. Okay, so what drew you to this time in history? What made you want to make a film set in this period?
Well, I think because I always used to go over and I used to see my grandparents quite a lot. especially before university. And they always used to show me like pictures of my great granddad and stuff in like a uniform, and they used to tell me so many stories. And they had like handwritten letters that they used to show me and stuff. And I was always fascinated by it. Like I'm quite a big history guy, and I kind of always thought I'd love to make a film set in World War One or World War Two. Maybe I wasn't too sure, and I didn't know how realistic that was, to be honest. But I think with the amazing networking that we've done, and you know we've worked on a bigger budget than what we normally would, we've managed to pull it off.
Right. I'm guessing that you probably reached out to historical reenactment groups and that sort of thing to assist you with this.
Yeah, we reached out to 2 or 3 of them, and a lot of them were just like, you know, really keen to get stuck in, and they were really excited to be a part of it, and they've been a massive help on the film.
Yeah, they're great. I mean, you know, and there are lots of them, and
Yeah.
and it's a whole other world out there. But they are fantastic, and they've got invaluable knowledge as well. So, okay, so talk us through. Let's talk technicals first. So, 4 crew on your first movie. What was the size of the crew on this one?
About 20 to 25, I believe.
Okay, very good. Did you want to break that down very quickly? Give us all the ones you can remember.
So I've got my main man, my DOP, Jay Armstrong. He's just the guy that I can't replace. Same with Dan Laybourne, who's my editor. We've had a different sound operator, a guy called John, who's been brilliant, and we've had Sydney on hair and makeup. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. We've had Fiona, who has co-produced it with me. We've had Harrison Emmons, who's been a production assistant. We've had Siobhan, who was my first AD. I'm just trying to spitball all the names, but it's a much larger crew.
Having a good first AD is essential.
Yes. Yeah, well, you know what? I've never had an AD on any short film, and obviously when I've worked on professional sets, like I realised how important runners and ADs actually are to a set, keeping everything together, you know. And Siobhan is such a brilliant first AD. She's very calm and composed, but I'm the type of person that needs someone to kick me up the backside and say, "Come on, we need to get a roll on," you know.
Yeah, and also kick other people up the backside if needed.
Exactly.
So, okay, great. And who was doing the catering on Man on the Hill? You went from jam sandwiches.
That was my mom again.
but not jam sandwiches, I hope.
But a mixture. So we had like pastries, we had desserts, we had just something a little bit more because we had a bigger budget, you know. We weren't being as cheap.
Yeah, the most important person on your set is the caterer. I can't tell you
how. Absolutely.
Rubbish.
Yeah.
We disagree. We disagree on this.
Listen, if the catering on a film is pants, when you ask the cast and crew to work that extra hour at the end of the day, when they're really tired and knackered, if they've had a slap up lunch, not one that's too heavy, obviously, and they know that there's a good dinner coming when they're done, that they'll do that extra hour for you. But
well, that's all fine and dandy, but you know you can't. You know, if you take the caterer out of the equation, you can still shoot a movie. You'll go hungry, but you can still shoot a movie.
Yeah, but on an independent film, very important.
If you take a first AD out of it, or
oh no, the inside man's disappeared. I don't think his connection must be bad. Only kidding. Okay, so we're going to move on. Yeah. No, I know, but you know what I mean when I say an army marches on its stomach.
I know.
Basically, the message I try and convey to filmmakers is don't ever go cheap on catering because it's amazing what a morale boost
huge.
It gives the crew if they've seen you've spent a little bit of extra money on food. It's like, you know, they appreciate us being here. We're not getting paid a lot. It really is aimed at independent film. Of
course, you really also need you know, good toilet facilities in the event of mass evacuation. Let's just
say. You do need good toilet. You need a working toilet on your set.
You need a working toilet. Yeah.
A conversation that, funnily enough, we had earlier today. So yeah, don't underestimate the vitalness of a working toilet on your set. So let's move on from that. So Okay, so your cast for Man on a Hill. How did these actors come about on this one?
So truth be told, they're probably the best cast I've worked with, without sounding too biased. But I was struggling to cast for the main actors, and I went to a place called the Actors Forge in Newcastle. A little shout out to them. They're
I've heard of
absolutely
that.
brilliant.
I've heard of that.
Yeah.
Place.
Well, I knew a few actors that were a part of it, and I asked if I could come down and kind of be a fly on the wall and I suppose scout some actors to see if there was anyone there that I could approach. And this is how I stumbled across Michael Tate and Alex Clark as well. Like they've been absolutely brilliant. They're so dedicated and passionate about what they do, and I think we were very lucky with the casting.
Okay. And what did you do anything different with your audition process this time around? Having maybe learned some lessons.
Not really. No, I think we approached the actors and then we took a section of the script, mainly with heavier dialogue, and we got them to send in some self tapes. And we auditioned some other actors as well for different roles, and we kind of just went through and if we like the actor, then we ask them to come back and do sort of a part 2 to their audition and a read through with me as well, and just to kind of get to know them, because it's all about you might get a great actor, but I suppose for me as well, am I going to have a good connection with this person as well, and and with Michael and Alex, I kind of just hit it off with them like immediately.
Yeah.
So did you have a much freer shoot schedule on this? Was it kind of in one block, or was it still separated into a couple of blocks perhaps?
It was separated into a couple of blocks, but for this one, I feel like because we really invested a lot of time into this one, I spent a lot more time on the script, and because of every lesson I suppose I learned from sets that I'd worked on, I came back as a new director, I suppose, and I had a much better understanding on how things worked, and I kind of took that knowledge and injected it into this production, I guess. So everyone was kind of very passionate and very keen, and everyone that read the script, I think they were quite excited to make it happen.
Yeah.
So with the script, with it being set in World War II, is it a fictional story? Just tell us a little bit about the story. What's the elevator pitch for this film?
So we follow a British soldier, Jim, played by Michael Tate, and English soldiers find themselves behind enemy lines, and a battle takes place. And Jim I suppose he's a bit of a coward. He flees from the battle, and he comes across a German soldier played by Alex, and he has to make a decision on what he's going to do. And they both come together and they realize that they've got more in common than what they initially thought.
Is there any reason why the German soldier looks like he's taking a sneaky pee on the poster behind the British? So is that part of the narrative?
I said the exact same thing. we took about 3 different stills for this. So we are on a hill there. Some of it is a little bit photoshopped. Obviously, the planes and the tower. The tower is real. It's that's in South Shields.
Right.
And we got about 3 different stills, and ironically, that's the one that I chose because I thought it looked dramatic enough. But yeah, Alex definitely looks like he's going for a quick one.
He's having a sneaky slash. While the Brits on guard, I'm just going to have a quick pee here.
His hands are actually bound by rope, so I think that's why he looks like he's tucked in a little bit.
Right, I got you. Is this set in a particular year of the war?
Yeah, so it's set in 1944. It's a week after the D-Day landings.
Right. Okay. So you presumably researched that period a little bit.
Yes, I watched. It got to a stage where it was just non-stop watching documentaries on YouTube,
Right.
watching war films, and just trying to I was trying to understand the war from the German perspective as well, and looking at their motives, and I was just trying to research as much as I could.
Did you watch the black and white 1960 movie, The Longest Day, or 62? I think it came out.
I've seen clips of it, but not all the way through.
Oh, mate, you got to sit down and watch that. That's another one you got to put that on the list. Yeah, I mean, there's an interesting Danish war movie called I don't think you mean Enemy Mine, mate. Enemy Mine's the science fiction film. You mean This Land Is Mine, which is a Danish film about German POWs being used to clear beaches full of mines in Denmark. And that's a pretty interesting movie, especially, if you want to see one from the German perspective. Yeah, so, okay. So what did you do to ensure, because, World War II historians as reenactors and have probably told you are very particular. So, I mean, did you, for example, set your British character, was he from a particular unit, and was this a particular battle that actually took place, or is it essentially a work of fiction?
It's a complete work of fiction. So Michael is Scottish, and so the character was meant to just be a generic Englishman, but with his accent, I thought there was something. There's something unique about the Scottish accent, that that northern gritty accent, and I thought we could leave that in, and I kind of liked it by the end of it. So we decided to go down that route. And in terms of the story, it's just complete fiction, because I felt like if I went with the idea of doing something based on real events or whatever, there's a lot more pressure to try and get that correct,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's a double-edged sword, because on the one hand, it's that can attract people to watch your film, even a short. Hey, I'm doing something about the Operation Blue Coat or whatever. Then people go, oh yeah, that's good. Someone's not done a film about that before. But then if you get one thing wrong about it, there's probably going to be some forum on Reddit somewhere criticizing you for whatever. And having been at the helm of 2 different World War II projects, the bean counters or the button counters or the rivet counters come out of the woodwork, and it's not that these people do care. They like the subject to be treated with the reverence and respect that it deserves, but God, it can get pretty catty.
Or the Belgian roof tile observers and chimney pot observers.
Yeah, I know that was a terrible thing that they got wrong in Masters of the Air. Those Belgian chimneys are crucial to the story. So what's the running time on this, and how many shooting days did you have?
We had 6 in total, and the running time we're aiming for 15 minutes. We've got about half an hour's worth of footage that we're still currently editing, so we're trying to get it down to that 15 mark.
Sure. I mean, you can always have a slightly longer cut for yourself.
Yeah, maybe a director's cut. I'm still toying with the idea.
And how did you fund this? What was your source of funding for this?
Great.
So it was all crowdfunding. So I actually submitted like a pitch to this scholarship at the end of last year. I didn't win it. So we turned to a lot of other options, and we were looking at crowdfunding, and we did like a GoFundMe. And we were aiming for about £850, but we got a lot of the stuff from favours from the reenactment groups or people that Fiona knew as well at the time, and her partner Mark, who is very obsessed with his history, and he knows anything about everything from any time period. So I think having someone like Mark on the project, he had his contacts on where to get props or costumes for. Basically next to no charge.
Yeah, that's always very helpful. So the GoFundMe, how much were you able to raise on GoFundMe?
I think we went over, which I'm not complaining about. I was delighted. I think we made maybe about 900 quid in total, and we put some of that towards travel expenses, catering, or some locations and some equipment as well.
Right.
It's great.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Good stuff. Because crowdfunding, when it first started, and I've done 2 of them, was, you know, it was quite unique, and there wasn't quite so many people doing it,
Yeah.
and more people were up for it. And then, of course, we had, you know, financial crisis after financial crisis, Brexit, prices raising on everything, and I remember I put 500 quid on a friend of mine's crowdfunder back in the day, because my career was looking great, and I thought, you know, I'll do this favor now, someone will do it for me later. But yeah, I mean, it was really, really, really difficult. You had to be on it every day. My friend Simon Cox is just about to launch, I think, his 5th one for his science fiction epic universal. No, was it? Epic Worlds or something it's called. And yeah, I mean, he's great at them. He's got a loyal following and stuff, but he works so hard. He works tirelessly on these things. Has a whole range of merchandise and all kinds of stuff. I don't think crowdfunding is as easy these days. It's like anything. It's like getting subscribers on YouTube. You know, you've got to work really hard. You've got to be consistent. So when you do your next project, how are you gonna source the funds? Because of course, every time you do another project, you've got to go up a little notch somehow.
Yeah. I think my goal is to work with bigger budgets. You know, it's quite a jump from like a 200 quid film from the last one to this one, and I think it'd be great to kind of make a film on a budget maybe over £1,000 now, and just every time I make a new project, slowly but surely, we have more money to work with, and eventually it'd just be the dream to actually pay the cast and pay the crew. You know, because I kind of feel like a bit of a cheapskate not being able to pay people for the work that they're putting into stuff. So I think maybe looking at I don't know, scholarships or anything like that, or companies that might want to invest in the story, that would be terrific if we could get something like that.
So your cast and crew are working on this essentially for expenses only.
Yeah, essentially. And, some of them as well, like, fair play to them. They said, like, we don't want to be paid through, expenses, like put it towards the film or put it towards festivals, which we've been really grateful for,
Sorry, I'll stand corrected. Wormy Spoons did actually mean Enemy Mine with Lewis Gossett Jr., who we lost the other year, and Dennis Quaid, the science fiction movie where a soldier and an alien who are on warring races, opposing sides of the same war, they find themselves stranded on a alien planet with not a lot to eat and hostile creatures, and they have to kind of bond together to survive. I don't know if you've seen that movie.
I've not seen it. No, I've not seen it.
Mate, not a bad film. Add it to the list.
It's an ever-growing list.
Oh, you come on this channel a couple of times, you'll come away with 50 films to watch. Now, we've only talked about 2 of your films. We haven't got a lot of time left. So anyone who's got questions for Jacob in the chat, I've been doing some as we go. Just chuck them in now, please. So this is another one of yours, Tinseltown. Yes. I mean, you've written and directed most of yours. I mean, you've written nearly all your scripts, I think, thus far.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm a little bit funny when it comes to directing something that hasn't come from my own head. I like to write the stuff that I end up directing.
I'm directing a short film for someone in a couple of weeks, and at one point I suggested a radically different way of shooting it, not in changing any of the dialogue or anything, but very different from the vision that was on the page, and the writer was very resistant to that idea. And actually I had to remember that I was a director for hire, and it was really my job to bring his vision as close to the page as possible as I could, rather than kind of ride roughshod and say, oh, we should set it here or set it here, which is kind of Hollywood of old. So at some point you're going to have to make that jump. So how will you approach directing someone else's material?
I think it's a good question. It's a tough one to answer, to be honest. I think it's something that the writer and the director are going to have to be able to communicate very clearly. I think as long as you're both on the same page, you can definitely make something incredible.
There's there is a little bit of a problem with that, and that is that certainly the way things are now and have been
Mhm.
certainly for the last sort of some 30, 40 years is that once the script has been written and it's been either commissioned or it's um, you know a submitted script, so um, you'll never really get any more communication from the writer. It's very, very rare these days that you do. It's just communication between the writer and director is virtually it's an extinct beast. It doesn't
Well,
Yeah.
happen
in Hollywood, I would say that's true. On a lot of television shows, they're often on the set now. So
well, I mean,
because they get that
in
created by, they've often got creative control, and it depends who it
yeah,
is,
yeah.
doesn't it?
I think what it is for example, when we were doing Band of Brothers, we did have a couple of the writers on the set. So we had Eric Bork on the set, and I think uh, Eric Jendrison was also on the set as well, because they also had producer credits. So that was part of the gig when they were doing Band of Brothers. So they wrote the scripts, um, and they had that producer credit, which gave them access to the set.
Yeah.
Whereas others, it's a very, very rare thing that you have any communication between the director and the writers, unless it's something that's insisted upon by the producers. You have to work with this guy. This guy is going to help make your script, so something grand. But it is quite a rarity.
But I think Jacob's got the right attitude, because that's certainly
Yeah, yeah,
what
yeah.
we're
Oh,
doing on
that's no
this
question.
thing. And I mean, if you've got that working relationship and
Yeah,
communication, and you can have it,
yeah.
so much the better.
It's the
Kind of
same with the cinematographer, isn't it? Like, like with Jay, the guy that I've been working with, he's just, we seem to have everything locked in and in sync. So I would feel quite nervous kind of letting him go,
Yeah,
yeah,
I think that's really the key person that any director
Hmm.
really needs, that shorthand with.
yeah,
So you have the director. They can read each other's minds. I mean,
yeah.
it's this weird symbiotic relationship that good DOPs and directors have. Um,
Yeah,
you know, um, but yeah, that's the probably the key relationship above anything, because you are the two people that are creating the physical product. I mean, okay, the writer creates the initial ideas and the initial product, but you are creating the physical product between you.
yeah,
So which means that you are so interwoven. You're almost Siamese twins. It's a great relationship. I think that when there's been a great DOP director relationship. um
yeah.
I'd be interested to know who your director influences are. Who would you say, what are the kind of directors that you look up to? Who would you say would be your inspiration?
They're probably very generic. I think when I went into university, it was what you said earlier. I was a big Tarantino fan, and any Tarantino film I watched, I was like, oh, I want to make something very similar, and I tried to replicate that grindhouse kind of theme to the short films that I made. So I would say Tarantino is a big influence, but I think Martin Scorsese is probably my number one, and I know they're probably very common answers with filmmakers, but they're just
I,
both great.
it's
They're still good influences to have, though.
They are great
Yeah,
influences to have, but I think that when you look at people like Tarantino and Scorsese, Scorsese's influences come from things like the British Ealing comedies, and
yeah,
French New Wave, and German Expressionism, and Tarantino's. All of his inspirations are some of my favorite movies, the Pulitzer-Teskey movies, his Giallo movies,
Yeah, a lot of
a
Italian
lot,
1970s
yeah, a lot,
yeah.
lot,
stuff.
lot of the kung fu movies, the sort of macaroni combat stuff, and spaghetti westerns. I think if you really want to delve into, looking at somebody who has influenced you, I think you have to start looking into who has influenced them as
Mhm.
well, to see where the genesis of their filmmaking really comes from. Um,
Absolutely, yeah.
Good point
so
there.
you,
Let me. Sorry to interrupt, and so because we're almost out of time. Let me jump to this question in the chat, which is a great question. if someone in the Northeast area was looking to make their way into this funny old game, aka filmmaking, what kind of opportunities or systems are there that people could utilize? So I suppose we're talking about official funding bodies, systems in place that are there to help either beginning creatives, young filmmakers, that kind of thing. Is there anything?
A brilliant place to start off with. A little shout out to them would be Northeast Screen. That is a brilliant. I don't know what you call them, like an agency, I suppose, like an organization. They've been absolutely terrific, and they helped me massively. You know, I had about 3 pages worth of a CV, and I took it to them, and they went, "You got to cut this down into 1 page," you know. And they've been absolutely great and very supportive over the last 2 years that I've been with them. And anyone can go at any age, and they can sign up, and they'll support you.
Yeah, so let's give them a shout out. This is their website, Northeast Screen. I'll pop the link for that in the chat.
If you're in the Northeast, they're absolutely brilliant to start off with.
I'm pretty sure they were at the there's a yearly kind of, I forget the name of it now, but it's like a film market where all the people that provide production support services, like there's a company called Location One that do like honey wagons and trailers and things like that. They always have a big marquee there. And you've got all the people with all the tax incentives from all the different countries all over the world have stalls there. Northeast Screen has a stall there. And then you've got, Film Southeast and all of these other people. So I think I did meet the people there. They were very helpful. Plus, I really want to go to this castle, which is kind of irrelevant but very cool. So yeah, I mean, so what would you say is the number one? I think you've done about 6 shorts now. Is that right?
I've lost count. Yeah, probably somewhere around there. Yeah.
What would you say is your number one takeaway lesson that you're going to carry forward to your next movie from your journey thus far?
I think probably echoing what I said earlier. I think just staying composed and trying to stay calm, and I think maturing as I get older, and I've matured a lot since I left university, and I think just keep trying to progress and to make something better each time, and no doubt in 5 years I might look back on Man on the Hill and think, oh, that wasn't very good in comparison to what I'm currently making. And if I'm saying that to myself, I know I've progressed.
Mm-hmm. So are you okay sort of shifting from directing your shorts to working on perhaps a TV show for the BBC, in a lesser capacity, and just being on set, absorbing, learning through osmosis.
Absolutely,
The
yeah. I
way the
think
business works.
Yeah, I want to work in as many roles as I possibly can. I'm actually working with the BBC in a couple of weeks on the dumping ground as a runner, and
Right.
I want to keep working as a runner for as long as I can to
Right.
experience everything I can and to learn as much as I can.
What
Great.
a fantastic attitude.
Yeah, I was about to say exactly. You took the words out of my mouth. Yeah, superb, because there's a lot of people that that wouldn't do that, and they just try and stay in the director's chair.
That's right. It's bizarre. I mean, it's quite strange how you'll get younger directors that are focused on becoming directors, but they think that they seem to be under the impression that their entry level into the business as a professional business is as a movie director and nothing else. They're not willing to do all of the hard work or experience anything through any departments, whether it be art department, wardrobe, hair and makeup, anything, particularly runners, production assistant. Those are the places where everybody really kind of earns their stripes, earns their spurs, because you are flitting in between all of those different departments. So you get to know the basic running of those departments as you're running in between them, but yeah, it's a great attitude, absolutely, commendable attitude. I
Let
really wish you well.
me fit this question in from Wormy Spoons before we begin to wrap up, which is another great question. If budget wasn't a consideration, oh, if only, what kind of feature film would you want to make, like genre, themes, topic? Yeah, so I'll
Good
put it another
question.
way to. I'll put it another way to you. Say there was a 208 million pound lottery for the Euro lottery on Friday. So let's.
250 tomorrow, apparently.
Oh, is it
Yeah,
rolled
rolls
over?
over. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, right. Oh, I've got a chance to get some tickets because me and Steve went to the station to get some, and it was past the time, so we couldn't get any. Right, so 250. So let's pretend that I've won that, and I come back to you and I say, okay, Jacob, I'm going to give you £5 million to make a feature film if you give me the right pitch. What movie are you going to come back and suggest to me that you're going to make for that 5
Well,
million?
I kind of love the like comedy, drama, kind of adventure stories. I love Little Miss Sunshine. I don't know if you guys have seen that. It's
Yeah.
one of my
Yeah.
favorite films.
Yeah.
I love that travel across country with all these things happening to the characters. So I think I'd like to write
road
something.
movie.
Yeah, kind of like a road trip kind of movie. But I think I like the deep kind of drama stuff, but I like a hint of comedy sprinkled in there too. So I think
Sure.
I'd probably want to try something like a comedy drama.
Right. Okay. Do you have beyond the theme? Do you have a particular story bubbling away? Maybe. That you're on the precipice of
Interestingly,
writing?
I did write my first feature. It is on the back burner because I want to keep making the shorts and I want to keep,
Sure.
like I said earlier, I want to keep, growing. And I'd rather be a really great short filmmaker before I take that step in a mediocre feature filmmaker, I suppose.
No, yeah.
So I think I did write a 90-page script last year. Obviously, it's a long way away from being made, but it does match that theme that I mentioned, and it's kind of traveling across country, a road trip kind of movie.
Okay, interesting. So what is it that you're working on next, apart from you're doing some other jobs for Beeb and whatever? What's the next short film that you're going to do?
So I think with Man on the Hill, it has the element of I suppose horror in many ways. It's not a horror movie, but we've showed the actual brutality of war, and it kind of made me interested in maybe not doing a horror as such, but maybe something kind of thriller-esque, maybe drama thriller. I've got some ideas cooking away at the moment, but I haven't written anything concrete. But we're looking at something at the end of the year where we might come back together and make something else.
Sure. So if there's anyone watching who's a budding actor based in the Northeast or Newcastle, who has probably got a semi-decent show reel at the very least, and might want to get in touch with you just on hey Jacob, just to let you know I'm local to you and I'd be interested in whatever film you're making next. Here's my CV, here's my reel. What's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
It'd be to get in touch via our email, which is floriginalproductions@gmail.com, or our social media pages, which is Fully Loaded Pictures UK on Instagram, Facebook. Drop us a message, and we'd love to audition anyone that comes forward.
There you go, and a lot of that information is already in the blurb down below. Fantastic.
So can I just ask you where you're intending to take this? What's going to be your sort of first exhibition of this picture?
Of Man on the Hill.
Yeah.
So there's a festival that I love to go to every year. It's Tees Valley Film Festival, which is based in Stockton. And it's a great week of short films at the end of every year. So we in a biased way, we will submit the film to them. And we want to try and push the film to as many film festivals up and down the country as possible. We want to try and get our names out there. We want to get the film out there, and we want to showcase what we're about and the potential that we have to keep going as well.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to film festivals, that is a whole cottage industry of its own. So, piece of advice, and it's a topic for another time. Make sure you thoroughly research the film festival to make sure it's a legitimate film festival before you spend any time and money.
way too
submitting.
many pop-up festivals. I
Yeah,
think.
don't. Chain film festivals are to be avoided at all costs.
Yes,
Cannot stress that enough. And a shout out here to the Tyne Valley Film Festival, which I have heard of. A great film festival with a great reputation. Well worth people submitting their films to this festival. It's a proper festival. It's well attended, with good screenings, good venues. Not a room in a hotel with a projector. Yeah, so it's just in case anyone's ever experienced that. Listen, fantastic. So good news, Jacob. You're now an official member of the Outcast Creative. That means going forwards, you can come back to us at any time and jump back on this channel to promote your wares, so to speak. So if you do have a crowdfunder and there's something that we can see, that we can show people, and you're looking for support for one of your future projects, drop us a line and we'll have you come back. Of course, there's a caveat to that, which is that when you win your Oscar and your BAFTA and so on in the future, we do ask that you don't forget us and you come back on the channel and give us an interview again and tell us how your career has progressed since those early days of yore when mother was making jam sandwiches. Now you've actually got crisps and Kit Kat on your set as well. So yeah, fantastic. Is there anyone else you want to give a shout out to or thank before we sign off?
Just honestly, a massive thanks to the cast and crew of the film. Each and every one of them. We've had runners, we've had the makeup team, we've had producers. Everyone have been absolutely fantastic, and the reenactment groups as well. We couldn't have done it without everyone there. So a massive thanks to them.
All right, excellent. Well, listen, Jacob, great to come across you and such an early stage in your career, but that is exactly why this channel is here, to support emerging creatives. So if you are one and you're watching and you've got a project that you can show us, that's at a stage of development where we can show people something, we can talk about it, we can support you, get in touch with us, care of the Outcast Creative Facebook page, or you can find me on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, under Lance, at Lance Nielsen, spelled the Danish way, WD, capital D, capital W, capital D, which stands for writer director, funnily enough, just like yourself. Tomorrow, I've got another industry interview before we come on to do the Nielsen ratings at 10 o'clock, which is our weekly live review show where we're going to be talking about the new Predator film. We're going to be talking about season 2 of Gold on the BBC. But I've got an interview tomorrow with film director Chad Michael Ward, who's also got a horror film called Fairy Dust that it's more like a horror fantasy fairy tale called Fairy Dust that looks fascinating. They've got a crowdfunder going at the moment. A very interesting visual aesthetic to that film. Inside Man, again, if you're free tomorrow, if you want to jump on that, let me know. Yeah, sure. And also we'll be joined by his producer Libby as well. So there'll be 2 people from the team coming on that. At 8 o'clock, we've got the Nielsen ratings. At 10 o'clock, I don't know if we'll have a Chew the Fat this Sunday coming up because I think I need a day off work completely, and I haven't had a day off for quite a while. So yeah, but and then the following Tuesday, there's no Nielsen ratings because we are filming. So we will be on set. So we'll be taking a week off. Fantastic. So it just remains for me to thank all the people in the chat, including some of the other Outcast creators are here. Rachel Percy Art is here.
Hey.
Do check out her artwork. It's absolutely fantastic. Also one of our new regular co-hosts on the Nielsen ratings. Do check out Nerdly UK's channel as well. He's got bits and pieces going on. And of course, Snorter Poopers, just one of the people on YouTube who's got just one of the best names ever. Just have to give them a mention. Yeah, so it's been really great talking to you, Jacob. Thanks so much for giving us your time. Thanks to my
co-host. Thank you so much.
Not at all. Thanks to my co-host, the Inside Man.
Pleasure.
I guess that means that all there is for us to say is don't forget to keep in touch with the people that you care about. Tell them that you love them once in a while. And I guess that's a good night from me.
And good night from him.
How about you? Share your passion, join the crew. drives. Films, TV shows, from